Navigation View is one of the most important controls on any SwiftUI app, letting us push and pop views freely. In this video, I'm going to walk through the full range of Navigation View features, starting with simple things like titles and buttons, then moving on to more advanced topics such as programmatic navigation, how to do split views, how to support macOS, watchOS, and more. And this video is sponsored by RevenueCat. They make it super easy to add in-app purchases and subscriptions to your apps, including hard things like receipt validation, handling churn, and much more. Let them do the hard work so you can focus on the fun stuff, your app. Okay, let's look at some code. You can see here I have text hello world, the default iOS SwiftUI template. Let's go ahead and add a navigation view to here. So I'll say there's a navigation view around our text like that. And most of the time, that's where you'll want the navigation view as a top level thing inside your view. The only real exception here is if you have a tab view. If you have multiple tabs with each one having a nav view, then fine, yes, you have a tab view around your nav view. Otherwise, it's a top level thing. Now, when learning Swift, one thing folks find hard with the layouts is how they handle titles for nav views. We do it like this. We'd say text hello world dot navigation bar title is navigation. We put it there attached to the text, not attached to the navigation view. That's intentional. That's how SwiftUI is supposed to work. You see, navigation views let us push and pop views. We can add a view, add a view, add a view, each with its own content and each with its own title. And that title will change. Primary, secondary, detailed, tertiary, who knows what's going to pop in there. And it's down to SwiftUI to remove one title, to animate it going away, and animate in another title coming in. And it'll do that for us when it's attached to the content. That's how it works. I mean, think about it. If we're taking this thing here, this modifier, and attached to the navigation view, which won't work as you can see, it's kind of gone away entirely now. What we're saying is that's its title for all time, which makes no sense in UIKit. It doesn't make sense for iOS or SwiftUI, any of those things. It's just not a good idea. It should belong to the thing inside the navigation view. That's what's being shown right now. So we have this title here. Now I should say it doesn't have to be there. It can be attached to any view inside the navigation view. If you had a V stack and a H stack, then some text, you can put the navbar title there and it'll bubble upwards. It'll propagate upwards to the navigation view like that. Now if you want to, you can customize this title the way it's shown with a second parameter, which is display mode. It has three options: automatic, inline, and large. The large option is what you see right now, those super large chunky titles. The inline option is a smaller title, like that, little slimline title. And that's useful for detail screens. Then there's automatic, which will choose the right option based on whatever the parent had. Broadly speaking, you want large titles for your very first view, your navigation view, and all subsequent views will have inline titles. There are a handful of exceptions. That's the only time, really. Otherwise, large title, then inline, inline, inline. And actually, large is the default anyway. So if you just take away that completely, you'll get a large title. Just remember, for subsequent ones, use an inline title there. When it comes to pushing new views, you can use that. You can do that using a navigation link. You can say, hey, when I tap on this content, this picture, this text, whatever you want to, push to a new screen. And one of my favorite features of SwiftUI is for prototyping. You can say, push to not a whole custom new view, which I've designed, but just temporarily some text or a picture or even a color or a rectangle. Just temporary stuff so you can prototype the first screen. And we can do that here. We can say our navigation view has a navigation link with the destination of text second view. So I'm pushing directly to some text saying hello world, like that. And that is all it takes to do pushing and popping of views in SwiftUI. Now, if I press Command R, that should spring to life immediately, being well. There we go. So that's hello world. Press that, in comes second view. But notice how SwiftUI has automatically made this hello world text blue. It's signaling to users this thing is interactive. It's blue for a reason. It's an active piece of text. And that's a really helpful feature, but it can actually cause unwarranted or unpleasant side effects, things that you hadn't anticipated. And this is particularly bad for images. Now, I want you to go ahead and add some images to your project now. I've done this already. Over here in my asset catalog, I have Hacking with Swift logo, this red bird thing, and Paul, a picture of me grinning back at the camera. Now, I've chosen these two for a reason. Hacking with Swift is red with transparent gaps between those sort of streaks, whereas a picture of me is fully opaque. There's no transparency there at all. So we go back to content view and say that our navigation link isn't just text hello world anymore. It is an image of the Hacking with Swift logo. Oops, there's the logo. Let's do that now. Image Hawassa. There we go. Boom. There it is. But you can see it was red and now it's blue. It's been recolored blue by SwiftUI to show this thing is interactive, which is really helpful. And it has nice transparent holes in there, just like the original. Done a really, really good job. But if I had chosen my picture, my photo, now we see a blue square, which is useless, right? That's supposed to be a photo of me looking happy at the camera. It's now a blue square, so it's not clear at all what it was supposed to be. That's a problem. But there's an easy fix in SwiftUI. We can say our image has a rendering mode modifier using .original. Use the original pixel colors to draw the picture like that. And now you see me like normal. Now what I would say here is we've removed the blue tint. So the image no longer looks interactive. It looks like just a picture of me grinning at the camera. There's no clue that will navigate to a second view. So you've got to be really careful here and say clearly somehow with borders around it or text saying click here or whatever, this thing is interactive, click on it somehow. Now obviously, pushing to text second view is not very exciting. You want to push to a custom view most of the time in real applications. And we can replicate that here with a new view. But I want to show you how you pass data between views. How you can say, here's what was chosen, now show it in your second view. I'll make a new view up here. Struct result view conforms the view. And this thing, to show a result view, you've got to pass in one piece of data. What choice was made as a string? And I'll say var body, come on, body, some view, text, you chose choice. Boom. That's the thing I want to show on the screen. Now in our content view, we can show that view using a navigation link, passing in whatever they chose. Now I'm going to do a thing where they can flip a coin, it's either heads or it's tails, so we'll have two navigation links down here. We'll say there is, let's delete all this junk, there's a VStack with spacing of 30, boom, like that. And I'll have two navigation links here. We'll say first, there's a text saying explain what's happening. You're going to flip a coin. Do you want to choose heads or tails? Then below that is our first nav link. I'll say navigation link. And this has the destination of our result view. And that will force me now to say what the choice was. So I'll say heads. And I'll say text, choose heads. Like that. Boom, scroll down a little bit. Then we'll do another navigation link. Navigation link. The destination is result view. Choice is tails. Text, choose tails. Like that. Boom. So we're saying either push to the result view with heads or push it with tails. Either way, we're pushing to the result view. I press Command R now. We should be able to see that in action. Let's find out. Flip a coin, I'll choose heads. Boom, we chose heads. Back here, choose tails. So we're now pushing to a detail view, the same one with two different values. And the best bit is, when we create a result view here, Swift will make sure we specify choice. We can't not. We must always specify one string value called choice. It's really, really safe way of working. Now that's how we do navigation from a user's perspective. When they tap something, show a detail screen. But SwiftUI also lets us have programmatic navigation. There's a second form of navigation link where we can activate things when we want to on our own terms. So we can use that now. First, I'll add, first let's get rid of some code, get rid of all this junk we don't need anymore. You can all go away. You can all go away. You can all go away. Boom, like that. So we have our simpler layout now. We're going to say there is a nav link, And destination is going to be some text again, second view. We'll use that second parameter to navigation link, which is active. Is this navigation link active right now? Is it showing its destination right now? That's what it means. And this wants to be bound to some sort of Boolean state property. So we'll define that now. We'll say there's a new property up here, at state private var is showing detail view. And it's false by default. And we want to bind our navigation links is active parameter to that, is showing detail view. So we're saying to navlink, hey, show the second view, show this text thing here defined, only when is showing detail view is true. So watch that like a hawk. Watch it, watch it, watch it. As soon as it's true, boom, show the second view. That's what we're asking for here. And if you want to, you could have some content inside there, an image or some text if you want to. But you can also say this content is actually an empty view. There's nothing on the screen to represent this thing, which is really neat. Because now that becomes a whole navlink right there. Handling navigation, just watching that present its view. We can now add our own UI to toggle that Boolean when we're ready at our own time. We can say button, we'll do tap to show detail, self.is showing detail view equals true, like that. When that code runs, it'll look very similar. There's our text, pressing it, in slides our view. It looks like a regular navigation link, but it's not. It's a button that sets a Boolean to true, a Boolean that's being watched by our nav link, which then pushes its text. So it's a bit indirect, but this approach matters. It's really, really important because this is now our code. We're going to have all the code we want here, more code here. Maybe save some settings, maybe do a network request, whatever you want to. Do all that work now, and then when we're ready, set the Boolean to be true. So that's the difference here. It's not a navigation link that always just forces things on the screen. It's ours, customized as we want. Now, obviously, we have one Boolean here to show one screen. If we had 3 different screens to show here, it'd be very, very painful having 3 different Booleans. You know, it's showing first view, it's showing second view, it's showing third view, it's showing 8th view. Grim, right? We don't want that. There's a better option. If that's what you want to do, if you want to have multiple different destinations here that are being shown by these navigation links programmatically, then you use a different initializer. We can attach a tag to our navigation links. This is your tag. Watch this value for your tag and activate when your tag is the value. So we'll change our Boolean here to be a selection optional string equal to nil. And you can use whatever you want for tags, but strings work very well, I think. You can use integers, you can use custom types. Doesn't really matter. We'll use a string here. But it's nil by default. Nothing's being shown right now. And we can then say our second view text, not this Boolean instead, we'll say the tag for this is second. And selection, what to watch is $selection. So we're now saying this navlink should show text second view when the selection property is equal to second. That's what we're saying right now. We can do another one. Navigation link, destination, text of third view. The tag now will be third. Selection is still $selection. And I can now do an empty view inside there so it's invisible on the screen. Boom. And now we have as many ways of showing different screens as we want. We can say this button here is tap to show second. And it will just do self.selection equals second, the tag for that view. Or tap to show third. Selection will be third, the tag for the third view, like that. Let's run that back. So here's second, in comes second view, and his third, in comes the third view, like that, boom. Now, so you can see we're modifying this state property, which our nav links are watching. And as soon as it comes to their tag, it'll show their destination. But you can also use these state properties to hide views, to dismiss views programmatically as well. If I roll back my code a little bit to our simpler example from earlier with a Boolean, which was here, yeah, here, great. So we have a simple Boolean true again. What we can say is show the screen, which is to setting the thing to true, but after a period of time, hide it again. We're finished now, hide the thing. So I'll do dispatch queue .main .async after deadline is .now +2 self.isShowingDetailView equals false. So show the detail view, but after 2 seconds, hide it again. Let's run the code back. Show it. 1, 2, hide it. Boom. And that way, we can show the thing by setting it to true and hide it by setting it to false. Now, honestly, it's unlikely you'll want to have a 2-second GTD timer here, but the concept's the same no matter what you do. When you are ready, when you've finished your network request, when you've finished loading the user save game, whatever it is, hide the current view, go to a different screen instead. Exactly the same approach. Is active or tag and selection, exactly the same. So that's how you show and hide views. We've looked at how you pass data directly to views, but I also want to show you how you can use the environment, because the environment's brilliant with NavigationView. Because anything that belongs to NavigationView, its own environment, automatically gets shared with all the views it shows. So, I'll try this out. I'll make some data we can share. Class user conforms to observable object. It has one @published property called score set to 0, integer 0. That's our data we're going to pass around. I'll then make a second view that'll expect to find this value in the environment. I'll say struct user, change view conforms to view. @environment object var user conforms to user. Then var body some view, and this is going to show the user's current score and let them increase it by 1. So I'll say there's a vstack with text score is user.score, and button will be increase, and self.user.score plus equals 1. That's our entire change view. Finally, we'll make our content view down here create a user once. @observed object var user equals user. It'll then show that score somewhere on the screen. So I'll say, let's get rid of most of this code. What do we have? You can all go away. Text, the score currently is user.score. And below that, a navigation link pointing to our change view. Like that. I'll say text, show, show detail view. Boom, like that. Now, we want that user object that we made inside content view to be available inside change view. And you could do that, of course, by adding down here .environment object if you want to. But there's no need to, because if you attach an environment object to a navigation view, every view it shows will have that environment object. First view, second view, third view, fourth view, 50th view, they'll all have that same shared environment. So we can say down here on our navigation view, .environment object is our user, like that. Share it everywhere. So I'll press Command R now. Hopefully we should see score 0, show detail view, score 0, increase, 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 scores now 3, and back, scores now 3. So it'll be shared by all the views in its stack, and they'll all have their body property re-invoked whenever its value changes. So that is now navigation and sharing items. I want to talk about how we do buttons, because you can add multiple buttons, leading or trailing, which is left and right for left to right languages like English. You can add multiple on one side, multiple on both sides. It's down to you. It's really, really flexible in SwiftUI. Let's give that a try now. Let's get rid of some code first. You can all go away. You can go away. Let's go back to my old pal, hello world. Navigation view, text capital T, hello world. Come on, there we go. Boom. Simple layout again. We're going to start off really simple. We're going to say that this thing has a navigation bar button that modifies a score when tapped. None of this user thing anymore. A simple local value called score. So I'll say @state private var score is 0. Then we'll show that in here. We'll say score is current score, like that. Then I'll have our title, like that. Below that, I'm going to add some items, one item particularly. Dot navigation bar items. You see there's leading or trailing. So I'll do trailing. And for the view, I'm going to say this thing is a button saying add 1, which when pressed does score plus equals 1, like that. Now, for indenting, because these can get quite complex with multiple items, leading and trailing, yada, 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 I prefer to put trailing on its own line than indent button like that. It's a bit easier to read on my eyes. Let's run out the code back and see how it looks. Boom, score is 0, add 1, add 1, add 1. Awesome. Okay, there we go. If you want buttons on the left and right, you want to just pass leading and trailing parameters. So I might have said down here that we have a leading button set. Button will be subtract 1. Self.score minus equals 1. And you have a comma here because leading and trailing are parameter names. So end up with that kind of thing. Boom. You can see now I have the tabbing going on to make it more easy to read. So we have now a leading and trailing button. Press Command R, see how it looks. Add, subtract, subtract, subtract. Brilliant. If you want to place both buttons on the same side, you could of course use a V-stack if you wanted to have them above each other. But on iOS we normally have them horizontally aligned and not vertically aligned. So I'll scrap leading, put button on my pasteboard and say our trailing button view is a H stack with, let's paste it in here, our subtract 1, then I'll add 1, then end the H stack like that. And again, indent it neatly. Now notice I removed the comma here. H stacks are view builders, not parameter lists. So you want to have button 1 with no parameter, no comma after the closing brace, and then add 1 here. On that back, we should see his buttons side by side. Let's find out. Boom, there we go. So I can do add, subtract, subtract, subtract. Now I would say that buttons like this in the nav bar have a very small tappable area. So I encourage you to make them by hand and add padding around them so they're easier to tap for users. Okay, that's buttons done. Let's talk how we can customize the way our nav bar looks. We can do things like changing the font, its color, its visibility, and more. However, at this time, support for this inside SwiftUI is very limited. You've got to go down to UIKit for a handful of things. In fact, only really 2 things are available in SwiftUI right now, one of which is saying, is the nav bar hidden or not? And one is the navigation bar back button hidden or not? And that's useful because you could say, go to this screen, this important screen, make a choice, must make a choice before you go back. So both are useful. Like navigation bar title, we've been using quite a lot. These 2 modifiers should be attached to the thing inside the navigation view, not the navigation view itself. This is a bit confusing because there's another modifier called status bar hidden, which must be attached to the navigation view. So it takes a bit of thinking here. I'm going to try and show off in one code sample for you. We can say at state private var, I'll say full screen equals false, like that. And then in our nav view, let's get rid of some junk here. Let's get rid of all of it, it's fine. Boom, we have a button saying toggle full screen. And we'll do self.fullscreen.toggle. And then we'll attach to that navigation bar title of full screen. And our new modifier, navigation bar hidden, which I'll use our full screen at state boolean for. Now we're also going to modify, or set the status bar to be shown or hidden, depending on full screen or not. And that's attached using something on the navigation view directly, not the thing inside the navigation view. So I'll say .status bar hidden is also full screen. So we have one inside the nav view, one outside the nav view. One where hidden is part of the method name, one where it's an argument label. So yay for consistency. Anyway, that should kind of work. Let's give it a try. Let's press Command R. So it's now showing the status bar and the nav bar. Press the button, boom, away they go, and come back again. Notice how the button moves up to take up control of the full screen space, because that space is now being freed up. It's now usable by our view, which is great. Now when it comes to customizing the bar itself, this thing here, we can do things like colors, fonts, and so forth. That's where we have to drop down to UIKit. we have to use a UI kit technology called an appearance proxy, which lets us modify navigation bars in our app. And they're really broad stroke things. You can't say modify one navigation bar. It'll do them all at the same time, which isn't great. There are several ways of doing this, but the easiest way you'll most commonly see is in the app delegate. When your app's finished launching here in this did finish launching with options method called, folks will customize it then. So here's how my nav bar should look. Here's how my other control should look once it's shared everywhere in the app. So we'll do that here. We'll say let appearance equals a new UI navigation bar appearance, new in iOS 13 or later. And this lets you customize the way nav bars look. So I'll say first that our appearance has a default configuration with an opaque background. Configure this thing ready for some sort of solid color in the background. I'll do appearance has a background color of red, something nice and bright so you can see it in the video really clearly. That's our background color done. The next step is to customize the way fonts appear inside there. So I'll say that a new attributes dictionary called attrs. That's a dictionary of ns attributed string dot key. That should be a colon here, sorry, colon, key and any equals a dictionary of dot foreground color. I'll use UI color dot white. And then for font, I'll use UI font, font dot monospaced system font of size. I'll do 36 and weight. I'll do black. Boom. We can now attach those attributes to be the large title text attributes for our appearance. We can say appearance dot large title text attributes. The thing to use when the text is nice and chunky in the navigation bar is our attributes. And finally, use the UI navigation bar dot appearance its proxy to do all navigation bars dot scroll edge appearance equals our appearance. So this will be used when our view's up against the very edge of the nav bar. I'll press Command R now. Hopefully, boom, bright red background and then a white text color there as well. I'll be careful, by the way, we're in UI kit land now, which is why you're seeing a full red there. You're seeing a really primary red there. If you had used something like system red instead, which is the UI kit way of doing adaptive red colors, then you'd see the sort of more pale red we're used to in SwiftUI. Anyway, so that's how we can customize our navigation bar inside partly SwiftUI, but mostly UI kit, and hopefully that'll change soon as SwiftUI improves. Next up, I want to talk about how we can do more advanced navigation, because there's one of the most interesting behaviors of SwiftUI is when we have landscape in big devices. I'll show it to you now. Let's first get rid of our customization, all this junk up here. You can all go. And then in our content view, let's get rid of all this stuff. Badoom, and then I'll do text hello world again. We'll do primary, and then get rid of that, and get rid of that. Okay. Super simple layout now, again. And you can see primaries up here and primaries down here. That's exactly what you'd expect. But I'm running on an iPhone 11 Pro Max. So if I put this thing into landscape, the screen goes blank. Then I have primary with the back button. And when that's pressed, we get this slide over. So what's happening here is SwiftUI is trying to be helpful. But the result is often you're staring confused. Where did my UI go? It's all disappeared. What's happening here? What's happening is that SwiftUI automatically considers landscape navigation views on large devices like this one, or most iPads, for example, in full screen, to form a primary detail, a primary secondary split view, where two screens can be shown side by side. Now, there's a lot of variation in how this works because of the way iPad works. If your iPad app's in full screen, you'll have your two views shown side by side. If your iPad app's in split screen with most of the screen, it'll still be side by side. But as it goes down to a tiny bit of the screen, it'll become collapsed down to a single view. And on iPhone, in portrait, it's a single view. And in landscape, it's split view with a slide over like this. So it's all sorts of complexity here. Now to fix this, we can just do what SwiftUI expects. They want us to have two views in here, one for the primary, one for the secondary. That's what they really want us to have here. So we can accomplish that very easily. There's our primary view. We'll do text secondary. Boom. Add two views directly to our navigation view. And that's what SwiftUI wants. And so now if I run the code again, you will see in portrait mode, we have primary. In landscape mode, we have secondary, with primary being a slide over thing right here. So you can do that if you want to. The other option is to collapse this thing down to have only one view at a time, which is possible using a new modifier called NavigationView style. And this is on the navigation view directly. So I'll say .NavigationView style is stack navigation view style. That means only show one view at a time, no matter what device I'm working with. So run that code again. In portrait, you see primary. In landscape, you see primary. That whole split view thing's gone away now on iPhone and iPad. I understand why folks want to do this because it's a slightly simpler UI. It's not great for iPad because on iPad, you want to have these two views sitting side by side, not having to have these sort of massive full screen animations. Because one of the benefits of having the regular navigation view layout, ditching this thing entirely, is that you have these two views side by side on iPad, of course, but any navigation links you have in the primary view don't show in the primary, they're shown in the secondary, which means you get that sort of like mail layout or notes layout you have on the iPad where you select from things, and what you select becomes visible in the detail view straight away. It's a much, much nicer way of working with complex data. So I'd recommend you avoid stack navigation view style unless you really, really need it. Okay, that ends how we're looking at iOS navigation view. Just briefly, I want to look at how we can deal with problems on watchOS and macOS. Because one of the things about SwiftUI is, yes, it's a cross-platform framework, but it's not designed to write once, run anywhere. That's Java in theory. SwiftUI is designed to be write once, apply anywhere. Like learn the thing once, how you do these things, how you solve problems, and apply that knowledge anywhere. So it's different. And this manifests itself sometimes because some code we write won't work on other platforms. For example, if I make a new watchOS project in here, I'll choose Watch App. I'll call this thing Navigation Watch on my desktop, like that. As of course, there's lots of stuff all over the place. Get rid of some stuff, make some space. If I wanted to have a navigation view here in my watchOS code, I might say something like there is a navigation view. Inside there is a navigation link. And that goes to the destination of text second view. I'll use my text hello world inside there like that. And that's pretty vanilla iOS navigation view code. Here is my hello world. When it's tapped, show the second view. Did that, 20 minutes ago for iOS. That won't work on watchOS. I press Command B, get an error straight away. Navigation view is unavailable in watchOS. They expect you to have a raw navigation link like that with no navigation view around it. That's how it works on watchOS. So this means if you're trying to share as much code as you can, and you can share a heck of a lot in SwiftUI, if you try and get as much as you can, and you're like, oh, I'm so close, just navigation view doesn't work in watchOS, this is really annoying, because now you haven't got a navigation view to work around anymore. You can have a different structure in watchOS, which is very, very, very annoying. Fortunately, we can write a little shim, a little wraparound here to make this thing work in SwiftUI with no performance impact. That'll be just a nicer way of sharing more code. We do that by saying #if OS is watchOS, and then #endif. And everything between these two lines will only now apply to watchOS. And we're doing it like that so we don't pollute iOS or macOS or tvOS or any other platform. We only want this to affect watchOS code. Inside there, we'll say there's a struct called navigation view. And it is generic over content, which is some kind of view, and it's itself a view. It'll have one property called content, which is a function that returns, accepts no params and returns some content, a view to render. It'll have an initializer, which is a view builder, content, at escaping, which is a method, a function that returns content, boom, assign that to be its content, like that. Then in its body, we'll do some view. Or we'll say for the watchOS navigation view is you're a VStack with spacing of 0. Inside there, just draw your content like that. So we're saying there's a new struct called NavigationView, which draws some sort of view content, is itself a view. And when it's made, it'll be passed some content, just stash it away for later, and then draw that content inside a 0 spacing VStack. So it has no performance impact us at all. And now we can press Command B and the code will build. So we've shared more code between iOS and watchOS. It's an easy win. As for macOS, let's get rid of that and make a new macOS project. macOS app, I'll do navigation Mac. My desktop. Again, make lots of space. You can go away. You can go away. Massive big preview area. Don't want any of that stuff. Again, like a simple example here. We'll say there is a navigation view. And then our text is here. I'll say this thing has a navigation bar title of navigation. Again, a trivial example on iOS. But that's not going to work on macOS. Errors all over the place. It doesn't have a navigation bar title modifier in macOS. So it has navigation view, but not navigation bar title. It's like the inverse of watchOS, which had no nav view and had a title. So it's a problem. It's another problem. And you're thinking, well, I could share so much code. I could share lots and lots of code here. But I'm being held back by a simple, kind of meaningless, trivial modifier. Just show navigation somewhere at the top. Fortunately, again, we can do a little shim. We can say hash if OS is macOS, again, end if. Now remember, that if OS and end if means we're not polluting the code for iOS, tvOS, watchOS, whatever, it was only affecting macOS right here. And now we can do an extension on view only for macOS that re-implements the navigation bar title modifier. Take some sort of title string, return some view, and internally we'll just pass back self. Do nothing at all. Transform us in no way whatsoever. And that, in theory, ought to be compiled away by the Swift compiler. It won't even exist. And with that change, now our code will compile on macOS. So again, it's a super simple change to make from our end. Really, really light on Swift and SwiftUI, but it does mean we can share a little bit more cross-platform code. Not everything. You still can't share everything. It's not write once, run anywhere. You just learn it once and apply it everywhere. But the more code we can share, the better, of course. Okay, that's the end of the video. I should say, if you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel. I make lots more videos like this one, teaching you SwiftUI, Swift, UIKit, SpriteKit, and more, right here on YouTube, free of charge. We've covered NavigationView extensively here. If you want to see more of SwiftUI, I've got a massive free tutorial series called The 100 Days of SwiftUI. It's at hackingwithswift.com/100/SwiftUI. Go and check it out. And I have SwiftUI by example, a huge, like 400 pages something, resource guide answering common SwiftUI questions with hands-on, real-world code samples. Again, it's all free online, and I'll put a URL below me somewhere here in the video so you can see it there. Go and check that out. And if you like this, follow me on Twitter. I'm 2straws. Once again, I want to thank RevenueCat for sponsoring this video. They make it super easy to integrate in-app purchases, subscriptions, receipt validation, and much, much more in your iOS apps. Trust me, I've done this code myself with StoreKit. It's extremely hard to do. Subs are really hard to do. Let them do the work. They've got a really brilliant, amazing, great value, free plan. You can earn, I think it's like $10,000 a month, completely free without paying them a penny. Go and check them out at revenuecat.com.